Mark, how's it going tonight?
It's going fine.
Okay, so we had an issue on the last episode that we did. You got a little upset at what Greg Overacker said on episode 3. So, do you want to talk to us about that?
Well, first of all, the podcast that was published February 2nd, 2017, it's called The Private Investigator Greg Overacker's Full Interview. And my reply to that was on February 7th, 2017. I quoted, "Greg, great interview. Good to see you're still out there kicking. Thanks for taking part in the podcast. MJA has always respected you and your work. And in no way do I think I'm being disrespectful, but to hear Tarek claims, we traded emails, me and Tarek, about all day on the, March 4th, and after I apologized to him twice, he still kept sending me emails, and the last email he sent me he said, "The reason you are getting problems with the Maitland case is because you relentlessly attack anyone that questions your work, as if we're not allowed to criticize you and point out the contradictions."
I'm sorry, this is Tarek?
Yes. Okay, this is where I have an issue with, is because I have never disrespected Greg, Bob Cates, and I'd never disrespect the Maitlands or Miss Maitland, and I haven't done that. But to hear Tarek claims I have. Well, in no shape or form have I. Yes, there were some mistakes on the last podcast because the facts wasn't correct. The underwear, the zip ties, the syringe was found together on May 15th, 2004.
Okay, good. I want to interrupt you real quick. The confusion on our end came from the documents that you emailed us. And one of the documents was what was turned into the Vermont State Police, which did not list the underwear, the zip ties, and the syringe. However, there was another document that was titled Case Report Missing Brianna Maitland with your file ID number. And the subject of this document was MJA collection of evidence from Miss Maitland's car. Now, you did say that on October 3rd and October 10th of 2004, MJA processed Miss Maitland's vehicle totaling 8.5 hours. And the subject of this was the items found in her car. At the bottom of that, there is a note of notice that says, on May 15th and 16th, 2004, MJA found and collected evidence that pointed it was related to the Maitland case. And it lists the items that were found and collected: Victoria's Secret underwear, the zip ties, and the syringe. So our confusion simply came from, we weren't positive if these were items that you may have found on May 15th and 16th and didn't turn into the state police, or they were items that were found in the car that turned out to be irrelevant. It was just within this document that the subject line said items found in, or MJA collection of evidence from Miss Maitland's car. So you can see our confusion with that, right?
Well, that's why I put the footnotes down below.
The footnotes down below each of the pictures? Or
no, where it says, I probably put MJA notes or something like that.
Note of notice. Yeah, it says MJA note of notice, but it doesn't say that it was found. It doesn't say that it was found anywhere else aside from the car. It just says that found and collected evidence that pointed it was related to the Maitland case, and then the items that were found. And it didn't. There's nothing that specifically says these items were found away from the car. So I just wasn't sure where these items were found. At first I thought that you had possibly looked through the car earlier, and those were items that you didn't turn in. So that's where our confusion was. Where were these items found?
They were found 2.7 miles from the crash site. I will not give the location of the road because we still have a suspect up that way that we're not done with.
Okay, was it 2.7 miles towards the Black Lantern, or was it 2.7 miles in the other direction?
Towards Black Lantern.
So you were searching her route, the route that she was traveling.
Well, at one time, yes, we was. We have covered a lot of area.
Sure. I'm just wondering what put you 2.7 miles at that location.
Okay, it's 2.7 miles from the crash site, heading towards the Black Lantern Inn. And from the crash site to Black Lantern Inn, it's 1.3 miles. You go beyond that, 1.4 miles, that's where we found the underwear, the zip ties, and the syringe. And every item that we collected on May 15th, 2004 was buried with brush. Okay, so that led me to believe whoever stuck those items there was still snow on the ground for it to be covered up with debris. And first, the underwear was found about 8 to 10 feet away from that was the flex cuffs, and less than a foot was the syringe. And they were all covered up with debris, like loose branches. It looked like they tried to make it look like weeds.
All three of these items were found together, and this was part of the search. You were working backwards from the site of the car and working backwards towards the Black Lantern, and then you worked beyond the Black Lantern as part of the search radius?
Oh, yes. Well, like I said, we've been all over. First, we covered a route.
I guess I'll be more pointed with my question. What were you doing at that location?
At that location, at that time, it's the place where we use for a break area or a think tank where we could sit and talk what we're going to do next, or what avenues that we should explore. And like I said, I was outside the van. I seen the glitter that was on the waistband of the underwear, and it caught my eye, and I went over there. I seen it was covered by debris. I got out my tools, my little old garden rake, and my evidence bags, and so on. And I collected those items.
And these items were turned into the state police?
Yes, they were.
Okay, cool.
It was turned in May 16th, 2004.
What makes you so sure that those are related to the Brianna Maitland case?
Well, you just take the situation. I mean, if you look at the situation, and then, like I said, the confusion about why I would know her size, that's one of the first things we do as investigators. If it's a missing person, what size of clothing they wear. We have her shoe size, her jean size, her top size, her bra size, her underwear size. We have all that, see? And like I said, it's just the circumstances of the case and what was found. Now, like I said, it could be nothing. We're not saying, hey, this is it, but it's a good possibility. I mean, if you look at the whole situation, it is a good possibility. We're not saying we're correct, but like I said, we collected it.
Where did you get Brianna's sizes from?
Her mother.
Okay, great.
Mrs. Maitland. And then another thing, there's some confusion on the plate sticker. We recovered that plate sticker the first day we was up there. We was on our hands and knees searching around where her car was, and we found that sticker. Now, here's what happened. I sent that sticker to our Indiana staff to have them find the lab to have it processed, because I seen behind the November 2003 and went all the way down to January 2003. So I didn't have the equipment to process it, and I wasn't going to take a chance of making a mistake. So here's what happened. Okay, I contacted our Indiana staff member because Lieutenant Miller had contacted me, and he asked about the plate sticker. And he said, by any chance, can we get that? And I said, you sure can. So I contacted our staff member, told him what I needed done, and he was supposed to send it overnight FedEx so I could get it to Lieutenant Miller right away. And en route to FedEx, he got killed in a car accident. It was days before we could get access to the car, and we never located it. But luckily, when we found it, we took enough photos to where the numbers was shown on the plate sticker. And so they ran those numbers, and it came back to the same make and model of Brianna Maitland's car, but it was a 1995 instead of a 1985. And that was very strange in itself. Now, our staff member that got killed in a car accident, we consider that, hey, he was killed performing his duty. 4 years ago, we had a researcher who, he didn't have a computer. He lived 3 blocks from his local library, and that's where he would go to get online. Okay, after an online meeting, which that's what we do, we have online meetings with the staff. He lived 3 blocks from the library, and at 8 p.m., when the meeting was over, he left the library. He was 1 block away from his home, and this guy come walking right up to him. He was a nut. He was off his meds, and he shot our researcher dead in the head. And then the gunman went on to kill 3 more people. So to us, he was killed performing his duties. And that's just the cold, hard facts. And that's another thing. Some of my clients sent you some emails. Well, I forwarded them to you. Mm-hmm. This is no joking matter what we do. I mean, if somebody wants to question our work, so be it. Our work is documented.
Yeah.
Everything is documented.
Yeah, Mark, I don't think anyone meant to be disrespectful to you. I think everyone really appreciates the time you and the rest of MJA put into this. Your heart is obviously in the right place.
It's not just Brianna's case and Maura's case. We have 88 other cases besides them. We traveled 12 states. Like that case in Missouri, 1965. We went to the crime scene, the whole shebang. We do it all. That's what I'm saying. We just don't put stuff out there and say, well, we're going to do this and do that and then not do it. See, that's not us. When I say I'm going to be there or do something, we do it.
I just want to go back to the registration sticker, the tag on the car. You're saying that was the same story that Greg told us, only the person involved was a member of your staff.
Yes, but in Indiana. It happened in Indiana, not on the way to the Vermont police barracks. That's the mistake in that story. I don't know where he got that story at, but it's not accurate. It is accurate that, yes, somebody did get killed in a car accident, and it was one of our staff members. That is accurate.
There weren't 2 separate stickers that one party found and was bringing to the Vermont State Police and got killed in a car accident, and your staff found. This is the same story.
Yeah, same story. Matter of fact, I sent, I think, Tim. If you go on the front page of our case photos, you'll see the plate sticker right there when we found it.
Oh, great.
It's right on our front page of our website, first page.
Okay. Yeah, Greg said that story was told to him by Bruce and Kelly. So I think he just didn't know that it was your guy that happened to. I'm very sorry about that. That is an awful, awful tragedy.
And also, I will tell you this. I talked to Mr. Maitland at 10 a.m. this morning. He was his usual self with me. There was nothing was said out of the way. I didn't say nothing to what was going on because that's not what the call was about. And like I said, I told him that when the weather permits, we're going to carry on like we have been. He appreciates it, and I told him if we ever do come up with something solid, he would be the first one to know.
You have a really wide reach when you talk about your group, that it's nationwide.
I consider it nationwide because we go to 12 states. We have 90 cases. On the girl taken in Missouri, her sister is the family spokesperson. She's with a group called Team Hope, who works with the National Exploited Missing Children. Okay, they was at a conference in Rochester, New York, and one of these staff members heard about her little sister that was abducted in 1965. And now you got to admit, the National Center for Exploited Children is a great organization, and they're the top in their field. But this worker said, look, you need to contact Mark. and she will verify that story for you. To me, that says quite a bit about our group.
How many members of your group are licensed private investigators?
And, well, we'll get into that. 0. And, like I said, this has been an issue when we first opened up. It's not an issue anymore. We work with, you wouldn't believe the people we work with. Like, I sent Overacker a thing, and I said, hey, if these law enforcement agencies haven't got a problem with it, why do you? We are operating within the law. I have a daughter who's a lawyer. We're waiting on her tax-exempt stamp and everything. And like I said, here's another thing. We are on the ground floor with Texas authority, Ohio authorities, to locate 35 victims of a child serial killer in the 1980s. Okay, we go to Ohio prisons, okay, talk to informants and talk to serial killers. Now, if we wasn't on the uppity up, do you actually think these people would bother doing that for us? Just like having the body exhumed in Louisiana. Okay, everybody tells us it was because of our investigation. Something wasn't right.
Yeah, we read some of the emails that you sent by some of the people that you've worked with, and it's very impressive. Seems like you guys have done a lot of work.
Well, that's not what I'm saying is, I'm not bragging. I'm not saying we're above anybody else, because when we're stumped, we ask for help just like everybody else does. But what I'm saying is the cold, hard facts. It's the truth. And so if people can't deal with that, I don't know what to tell them. Like Tarek, I apologized to the man twice, and he still was coming at me.
We wanted to talk a little bit about the struggle in the car that the Vermont State Police, I think it was Major Hall, stated that it was his understanding, or it was his finding that, or his determination that there was no struggle in the car. That you have stated that you believe there was a struggle in the car. Can you give us where you came to that conclusion? Yeah, how you came to that conclusion?
Okay, well, one thing, the rear view mirror was down. Another thing, there's a print in the back seat on the passenger side, footprint we couldn't get a lift from. And then, like I said, there was food cartons in the car. There's some of them food cartons had, like, somebody had put their foot down and was trying to push off. Like I say, the mirror being down, okay, the footprint in the back, and then on the ceiling of the roof, there was marks, like somebody had put their hand up on the ceiling on the inside of the vehicle and was trying to push away. And one of those imprints almost went through the fabric.
Would this be something that have you ever seen in your experience? Is that something that perhaps when the police conducted their search of the car, maybe that was left from them? Maybe they were feeling the top of the car, the ceiling of the car, or they had stepped on one of the food boxes?
Well, that's a good possibility, but I would say, to me, I would say no, because they are good at what they do. See, I'm not putting them down in no way. Mm-hmm. And I understand about why they left the fingerprint tapes behind. And see, that's what I mean. See, their tapes are different from our tapes. So you can tell the difference between the two. Okay? And the reason I believe that they were forgotten about is they got excited what they found in the back seat. There are so many cutouts from the back seat, it's unreal. So they did find something that it got them excited at that time.
I guess my question is, what is it about what you found that, upon looking at what the Vermont State Police statement is different, that doesn't convince you that there wasn't a struggle in the car?
No, because I also have to go by my experience and what I saw, see. And to me, I'm not saying it's correct, but to me, because I have processed a lot of crime scenes, and to me it looks like there was a struggle. I mean, we didn't go in there when we went to process the car thinking that. We didn't have a clue what we was going to find in there. I'm just telling you from all indications of what I've seen and processing other crime scenes, that's what it looks like to me. And like I said, I could be wrong. You know, I'm not saying I'm 100% totally right, because I make mistakes. I do make mistakes, and I'm willing to say that.
Now, we heard about Brianna's car kind of being a, quote, rolling dumpster at the time. You know, she had slept in it at times. It was a little bit of a car that some of her and her friends would drive around and kind of, you know, just cruise around at times. So
yes,
it would obviously get messy with probably fast food containers and a lot of things like that just naturally. But so you're saying that those containers had breaks in them that looked like someone pushed off on them.
Yes, there was two of them to be exact, and it looked like somebody took, you know, their heel and went through the container and pushed for whatever reason. And then other people asked me, well, how do you know it happened at the same time? Well, if you look at the brakes and look at the discoloration, they match. So more likely that tells me they happened at the same time. Same way with the vomit. When we broke it down, it told me that it happened at the same time. On the passenger side and driver's side, they both happened at the same time.
So that was the same person, you think, vomiting?
I think it was Miss Maitland, and that's one of the reasons I believe some type of hot shot was used, because that's your natural reaction. If you're not used to something like that, you're going to vomit. And like I said, it was on the driver's side door to the bottom of it, and same way on the passenger side. And so, like I said, we broke it down, and all the compounds, each samples matched. When you was breaking it down, they smelled the same, and all that, same color, this, that, and the other. So that led us to believe that when she puked at both places at the same time.
I'm following you right up until I can see it. I can see how it all can play out in that scenario where she's given some sort of injection, because we have talked to people who are close to her who have told us information, and that seems like something that would be conducive with scenarios that are believed up in that area. How does that, and this might be a little redundant based on previous conversations that we've had, how is that the serial killer scenario that you're actively working on? How does that lead to it?
Well, that's just evidence in the car. That doesn't mean it's going to lead anywhere. Matter of fact, all the evidence that we collected from the car doesn't mean it's going to lead anywhere. And it might be, like I said, it might be full of crap for all we know. All I know is I've seen stuff and I collect them. Because to me, it should have been collected by the Vermont State Police. Why they didn't collect it, I don't have a clue. I don't know what they were thinking. Okay, and the scenario on the serial killer. Okay, our scenario is, okay, since nothing has happened on this case, there is no concrete evidence, and so, and with all the locals up there, matter of fact, there's even locals up there. One guy was a suspect. He was convicted of trying to take a girl out of the convenience store there in Montgomery, and she got away. But the whole time he's trying to get her to his vehicle, he's telling her what he was going to do to her. So naturally, when he only done 4 years, and he was released before Brianna come up missing. So naturally, he was up there on the top of the list, say. And so we look at people that's done crimes like that in the past, see if there's connection. And then on this character that we're looking at, we don't think he's ever been entered in CODIS or fingerprinted, to tell you the truth. And so that also makes us tend to believe that this guy He knows what he's doing, and he's slick because he's, like I said, no fingerprints and no DNA in CODIS.
How often do the state police share information with you?
Well, Lieutenant Miller, he was a godsend. Matter of fact, I have witnesses that could even tell you at where I worked at the government call center. He'd called me several times there at my workplace wanting to talk to me.
I just mean overall, with all the cases that you work on, when you have a theory or information like I'm sure Brianna's car wasn't the first car that you processed. When you process a car and you submit it to the law enforcement, how do they typically contact you back and tell them what their findings are?
Some do, and then some tells us, to get lost. Like I told you, it's a give and take situation. And so that's what we do when we approach a case. We go to law enforcement and ask them, or tell them what we're doing, and ask if they would like to work together or separate, whatever. I mean, we give them every opportunity to work with us, and we tell them what we'd provide, this, that, and the other. But like I said, I really enjoyed Lieutenant Miller being on the case because he was a go-getter. I mean, I could tell that from just, like I said, I'd call him up on a Friday, said, we're going up there, what do you want searched? And he had no hesitation. He would tell us, hey, go check this place out.
Let's talk more about your serial killer theory. Where are you in that investigation? Do you have persons of interest?
Yes, we do. Yeah. We've already placed them in New Hampshire and in Vermont. Okay, the thing with New Hampshire is the person that gave us the information, she has a 2002 conviction for perjury. So her word is no good in court or with law enforcement. So we have to find another witness to place them in New Hampshire. But everything is still good to go in Vermont. And so we're digging into that because it is a pliable lead. And also I sent a report to John Smith that I wrote to the Murray family in 2005, another possible suspect. Okay, I think a couple years ago I called Mr. Murray, and I told him, I said, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I said, you need to talk to law enforcement about Israel Keys and John Reagan. And then the FBI come out and said Israel Keys was not involved in the Maitland case because they found financial records that states he wasn't in Vermont. But they never did say anything about Maura. And another thing on the Maitland case, they never did say something about John Reagan. And Reagan was caught up here in Saratoga Springs trying to kidnap a track star as she was leaving track practice. And it just so happened a teacher coming out of the school, he stayed over for some reason, seeing what was going on, and, John Reagan had her in the van. Okay, this teacher followed him, got on his cell phone with the police, and they ended up boxing Reagan in, and they found a hot shot, ropes, duct tape. Well, he had a rape kit. And so that's what I'm saying. So he's a good candidate. But like I said, he's been entered in CODIS. And if they do have a DNA profile on Miss Maitland's case, then it's not Reagan. But I'm just saying, through the years, this is what we've done, trying to come up with different suspects. And it's not just to fit our theory. We have many theories. Many theories. See, that's why I said we listen to it all. Yeah, just like me and John. We both have a different point of view, but I'm telling you what, me and John don't argue about it. We put our heads together and, hey, to see what pops up. He doesn't say I'm wrong, and I don't say he's wrong. And see, it's another thing about Tarek and what he wrote. I don't understand why we have to be criticized or point out my contradictions. I mean, I know I made 2 contradictions, and that was just yesterday I made one because when I sent you the email to tell you that this time was good, I put Maura Murray's case file number instead of Brianna Maitland's, and we're talking about Brianna. So see, there's a contradiction and a mistake I made yesterday. And the other one that I made was about the serial killer is I said that he leaves nothing behind. Well, that's not true. He leaves nothing behind that can identify him. And so that's the only contradictions that I can point out. If somebody else could point something else out, that's fine. And if it did happen, I'm willing to admit it. I'm not trying to hide anything. That's another thing. There's no smoky mirrors here. I'm not hiding nothing. And like I said, I'm not trying to brag or anything like that. I'm just giving you the cold, hard facts. This is what we do. This is the experience we have. And like I said, if people has a problem with that, that's on them. It's not on us. Because one thing, we don't work for them people that bashes us and everything. We work for the family and the victims, and that's where our loyalty lays. And see, the same way, right on our website, it's been on there from day one, the only promise we make is, we don't promise or guarantee positive results. What we promise is we will be on your loved one's case until it is solved and closed. And I think we have proved that through and through on the Maitland case, the Murray case, and several others that we've been on for years. We haven't went away, and we're not going to until it's done.
How do you afford to do all of these things? Because with Tim and myself, we both have our day jobs. Like, I couldn't imagine going out and creating this network. That's what I was getting at when I said you have a nationwide network. Creating a network, people do this for you, with you. You go out and interview people. I mean, the expenses. How do you do this for nothing? And I know you're waiting on your tax exempt status, but how do you do this for nothing?
Well, like I said, there's 44 of us, and see, a lot of people, they go out 3 or 4 times a week, they gamble, they drink, they do drugs or whatever. We don't do that, see. I mean, yeah, we enjoy going out to dinner, but it's not a weekly occurrence and so on and so on. And so, like I say, we pool our money together, okay? Sometimes it averages that each member pays $700 a year to carry out our work. Say, each member. Mm-hmm. It's a group effort, and that's the way we've always done it. We don't charge for our services. We don't take money from nobody.
Do you have another source of income? And again, this doesn't have to be on the air. I'm just curious.
Well, at one time I did have a source of income. I worked for a government call center, and it shut down here in Plattsburgh in 2014. And yes, it's the financial crunch has hit a lot of us, but we're still able to do what we need to get done. I mean, it's not like this past year, 2016. Yeah, we didn't get to travel to all 12 states, but I traveled, our New York staff here traveled to 4 states. Our Indiana staff traveled to 5 states. So we done what we could with the money we had. And see, there's another thing. Going for the tax-exempt stamp, we have to put out public records, say, at the end of the year that shows what we've done and so on and so on, how much it costs, our work. Like, it can amount to online hours. I mean, we have to put it all down in categories, say. And another thing our group does is we spend hundreds of hours a month between all of us trying to identify John and Jane Does. We try to do anything we can to help.
So what are you doing on a day-to-day basis with MJA?
Well, when winter, okay, it's a lot of downtime. So in the winter, if we have to stake out suspects or things like that, we do that in the winter because you can do that. And a lot of it's research work, a lot of it's meetings, and trying to get a grasp on a case, what direction we should go. And then, like I said, coming up next year, we're going to have 5 interns from a major university. And then after those 5 is done in 2018, 2019, they're sending us 5 more. They have to do 140 hours of internship with us to get their degree. And we done that for Dan, who ended up being one of our profilers. He got his degree in July 2016, and he done his 140 hours internship with us because these people, they want hands-on training. They don't want mock cases, mock searches, mock suspects. They want the real McCoy. And so that's what we provide.
Okay, and Dan was the one who was at the 13-year anniversary, right?
No. Dan lives in Indiana. Kyle, my stepson,
Yes,
he's
your
the
stepson.
youngest member of our group. And he's very good at what he does.
And what did he go through? What qualifications? Because you ran that, he ran it through. The both of you ran it through when you spoke. What was the qualifications and the certificates or degrees that he's been awarded?
Well, it's not degrees or certificates he was awarded. So we have a training thing for kids that want to get in this type of work. And he started at 13 being our water boy or equipment man. We each have a bag with us when we go out in the woods, and we have certain things in those bags. That was Kyle's job, to make sure everything was in the bag that was needed. Okay, after a while, since it's considered a family business, at 15 years and 6 months, he was allowed to go in the field. Okay, at 15 years old and 9 months, with my grandson, who is 4 years older than Kyle, they collected some evidence that pointed to a serial killer, Larry D. Hall, from Wabash, Indiana. And so both of them kids are very good at what they do. And, okay, here about the qualifications. What I took in school, I give them the same test. Kyle's average is like 97.4, and my grandson's average is like 95.7.
Which tests are these?
So that's what I'm saying. It's they have a knack for this type of work. Matter of fact, we're trying to push my stepson into going into criminal justice. I mean, it's his decision, but that's what we would like to see happen.
I was curious about the tests that you were using. You said that you used the same tests that you used when you were in school.
Right. Oh, just any test that had to do with criminal justice. Okay, when I was in school, I took investigations. Back then, they was starting in forensics. I mean, this was before DNA. It was mostly hair and fiber. Things like that, and how to collect evidence. How to collect evidence without disturbing your surroundings. How to collect evidence that's been buried. This is the type of test they would take. And then also, like you said, you give them a little old paragraph. You try to see if they can read the paragraph in a legal form, and they have to come to some type of conclusion just reading that one paragraph. And say that they're more or less they're filling in the blanks. And so, like I said, well, I'll tell you the truth. I was amazed when their test scores was coming back.
Oh, really? They scored very highly?
Yeah, very highly. That's what I'm saying. Kyle, my stepson's around a 97.4. My grandson's a 95.7, I believe. Yeah, they were very high.
So
that's what I said. We offer people that's going to wants to do that or go into that type of work. We give them an outlet to do that. Like we've worked with the Explorer groups. That is a group of kids from 16 to 18 that they have an incline that they're going to go into law enforcement, and it's called the Explorers. And a lot of counties around the states have that group. And so we've worked with them. We've worked for, we've had Boy Scouts on searches with us. All they needed was a waiver signed by their parents. And so like I say, we try to do everything we can to try to educate people. And that's another thing. We used to spend a lot of time going to schools to educate the kids, about abductions and so on. like I say, we try to do anything we can.
Now, I remember this was something that Kyle talked about in New Hampshire, right? The Hall case.
Yes.
I remember looking into it after that, and I apologize, I haven't looked into it in the weeks since then. But didn't he confess and then recant that confession?
Yes, that's the problem with him. Yes, he does do that.
What did Kyle find?
Well, let me see if. Well, I guess I can say it. Okay. Him and my grandson. See, we knew the evidence was there from an informant, and the informant even identified the girl that we was looking for. And anyway, it happened to be a piece of rope that matched the same rope they found in Hall's van. Okay, they also found remnants of a top, because it had been out there 20 years. There was very little left of it that matched the top this girl was wearing. And to me, and with an informant, that's, like I said, that's a very vital piece. Well, two vital pieces of evidence.
Which girl was it?
Her name is Wendy Felton. She was taken from Marion in Indiana.
These findings were what definitively connected the killer to these crimes?
Well, on this one, yes, we would have to say, because the informant that gave us the information, the evidence was right where he said it'd be. He said if he left something behind, this is where it would be at. And it was there. It just took us a while to find it. And see, that's another thing about Kyle, my grandson. We was out there 5.5 hours looking for this evidence. We was packing it in and it was going to come out the next day. We get back in the van, and Kyle, my grandson, tells me and my partner, give us 45 more minutes. And we're both looking at him, saying, you guys want to go out there again? And they said, yeah, give us 45 minutes. So we sent them with a walkie-talkie. And our call sign, if he finds something, is bingo. Well, about 26 minutes later, bingo comes over the walkie-talkies. And me and my partner, we just look at each other. We're going, oh, my God. And we went out there, and bam, there it was.
What was the first thing that they found?
The rope. I just set up an interview with him for a law enforcement agency in Indiana, out of LaPorte, Indiana, because they want to talk to him on an unsolved case, and so I'm trying to make that happen.
Have you talked to him at all?
No, I don't have to, because I know his history and I know his brother, his twin brother. Because I know, well, let's put it this way: if I did go in and talk to him, he's going to recant the next day. That's just what he does. He waits a whole day and recants. So he's just that type. He comes back and says, oh, I forgot to tell you, that was in a dream. Well, one that they got him for, Jessica Roach, well, the investigator, he just didn't buy it and just kept plugging away until he got enough to convict him.
I'm interested in how, you guys seem to educate people in your own staff and in your family using instruments that you were able to gain from your own education. And I was just curious about just more about that educational background. You said that you gathered these instruments from your investigations course. Was that undergraduate coursework?
Yes, I don't have a degree in it, because what I done is I went different fields, and I would take every class and every workshop that they had to offer, and this was done at IUK in Kokomo, Indiana. And also had training, because like I said, I've been at this 40 years now. I also had training from my handlers I worked with, and I can give you a good indication. One of my job investigations was I was a driver of a drug dealer who his house was a drug house, a whore house, and a gambling house. Okay, I was his right-hand man. I was his driver. I used to escort the prostitutes back and forth to their johns and after they was done. If they felt that they needed a bodyguard, I was their bodyguard. Okay, since I live at the residence, I got to wire the residence without the police agency getting a search warrant. So we had everything recorded and all that, and as we're doing this, I get him for a 1961 homicide in Cincinnati, Indiana, that he confessed to me to, which got caught on tape because the place was wired for sound. Yeah, and I'm the one that pulled the plug on the investigation is because I was still working at Chrysler Transmission then in Kokomo, and I was getting ready for work, and I hear this guy crying, saying, "Don't shoot me, Jesse, don't shoot me." I was in, like I said, the bathroom shaving, getting ready to go to work, so I peeked my head out, and there's this kid at the kitchen table on a chair. He's sitting there, and Jesse, the drug dealer, he has his foot between this guy's legs, and he's got a .357 to his head, and he says, "You owe me $600 for cocaine. We're going to go down to the bank and get it now." Okay, when he escorted him out at gunpoint, that's when I called my handlers and I said, "It's time to pull the plug." And the reason for that is because if he would have killed that guy, let's say, even before or after, I was his right-hand man, okay, the next thing would be, "Well, Mark, you got to help me clean up this mess." Well, I can't go that far, so that meant it would be either me or him. He would have to kill me or I'd have to kill them. So while they was out to the bank getting the money, I pulled the plug on the investigation. I said, "It's time to get me out of here." And they raided the place, and like I said, they got everything they needed, and we got multiple convictions.
Do you carry a weapon regularly?
Yes, I do.
Have you ever shot anyone?
Yes, I have. And I've been shot.
Really?
Yes.
What was that like?
Didn't feel good.
Where did you get shot?
Yeah, where did you get shot?
That I can't discuss. And that's for real. I can't discuss it.
No, I mean on your person.
Oh, I'm a person? Well, once I got hit in the elbow, and the bullet flew apart, and it come out underneath my rib cage. Another time, I got shot in my foot.
Jesus. What are you, a gunfighter in the Old West?
No, that was part. It was just part of my work.
Jesus. With MJA? That's your work with MJA?
No, this is when I was working undercover and stuff.
With who?
I used to find myself in some really weird situations. One time I took R&R. Okay, I go to California. I rent me an old kitchenette, and 2 blocks down the road is a grocery store. So I walk down the old grocery store, and I'm coming back, and I'll be damned if these gangbangers didn't do a drive-by, and they killed an innocent child. Okay, they left the shooter out of the car, and the car took off. Well, I ran down the shooter. I had him on the ground, and I had my gun in his mouth. And he thought I was the law. And I told him, I said, "No, I ain't the law." I said, "I could kill you right now and walk away because you just killed an innocent child." And so that's what I'm saying. That's when I was at R&R. You know, I wasn't even working. But like I said, sometimes I'm a magnet for stuff like that.
It sounds like
it.
It sounds like your whole family kind of is.
Well, yeah. I mean, but like I said, I've been doing this for quite a while, and I have a lot of experience. And so that's another thing. I used to even travel around with the deputy coroner when I was going to school because I wanted to know all of it. And he would do the hands-on stuff with the body, and I was more or less like his investigators. I took the notes and everything.
You have an extensive background that you're describing to us, and you've often said that you've worked with all the agencies in the government, and you say all the letters of the alphabet you've worked with. Is this all through them? Is it like they contract MJA, or do you work on a contract basis, or is it a combination?
No, a lot of my work started like working undercover. See, I have MS, so I couldn't go into service or join law enforcement. So my next best thing is, because I wanted to help, is I become a paid CI to the highest bidder. Every case I put together, convictions, and the appeals was denied.
A paid CI is an informant.
Yeah, I was a paid informant. And like I said, I have 3 active CI numbers now. See, so I'm basically in 3 different locations. I'm still active. And see, that's another thing, how we get a lot of things done. If I have to report something that I know is fact and everything, and I have to report it to these agencies where I carry this CI number, they can jump right on it because my word is good as gold. I've testified in court, I got convictions, and I put a lot of bad people away.
I think some of the confusion with this is, I think Tim and I have gotten emails, personal emails, just asking about your history and your credentials, and I don't think anyone's made the connection that you've had this experience by being a CI.
Yeah, well.
And is that's what you mean when you say that you've worked with every letter of the alphabet in the government? It's through CI work.
A lot of it, yes. But
I see.
At this time, I'm working with the FBI on cases with MJA. And like I said, on this trial serial killer, we're working with 17 different police agencies. And so that's what I mean. Oh, the Oklahoma Bureau of Investigations, bless their soul, I'm telling you, these people are great. They spent 3 days with me on the computer to try to track down 2 of this serial killer's victims. 3 days. These people are dedicated.
You say 17 different law enforcement agencies?
Yes.
Did they contract your services? I'm just curious in what capacity you work with them.
No, here's what happened is we broke a case wide open in Indiana, Shannon Sherrill. It led to a serial killer informant who was a cellmate of this serial killer for 5 years. And so he was gathering anything he could remember. And he ended up getting 4 convictions in Texas, kids that was killed in the 1980s. As a matter of fact, he got them 90 feet away from a victim's body. So this informant sitting in an Ohio jail cell knows what he's doing to get him that close to a body in Texas. Okay? He gave him information of where you would find evidence in one of the serial killer's old homes. They went there, they found the evidence, and there were 7 different types of DNA on it, and one of them was a male deposit, and the serial killer always said he didn't kill males. Well, we knew it was a lie because he was convicted of killing his own son at 2.5 months old. He shook it to death. And so in our scenario is the only way he could get the girl, he had to take the boy too. So like I said, we work with different agencies. Right now, up here in New York, we're working with the Livingston County Sheriff's Department on Tammy Jo Alexander, she was called Jane Doe Kelly. She was found in 1979. She was just identified, I think it was last year or year before. And we have a suspect for them, and they're actively working on it. I send them information every week. They send me where it's led to, and so on. And that, like I said, that's going on as we speak.